Hello, everybody, and welcome to Extracurricular Activities Week 5 edition. I guess we can call it Week 5, right? Because Week 4 has ended. I'm here. My name is Headmaster Red. I'm here with my guests, like always, our lovely producer, PVS. And with our other special guest today is formerly known as Curse Leona, now known as Blessed Pantheon from Zenigma Darkstar. How's it going, guys?
I'm good. How about you, Red?
I'm doing wonderful, doing wonderful. I got a lovely little shout out from two amazing orgs today, recognizing our hard work. So I'm like riding on cloud nine today. What about you, PBS? How you doing today?
It's all right. It's a nice rainy Tuesday.
Canadians, man. They always got something.
I just got a call that I have to go somewhere. So
Oh,
that's
Edge.
unfortunate,
It's okay.
but I'm gonna have to say not this week, unfortunately.
Oh, it's okay. It's okay. Well, thanks for being with us for as long as you could have, even
30
though it wasn't
seconds,
very
yeah.
long. But this is also a good time to remind people that if you want to join the talk show, you can DM me and we will add you as a guest. We will take one guest per ELO. That was Blessed Pantheon. Thanks for showing up.
thanks for the 2 minutes.
Yeah, thanks for the 2 minutes. He had some stuff he wanted to talk about, but I'm guessing Gerardin or Blue Vapor called his name and he had to go. So I guess we could just hop right into it.
Of course.
A little bit of shame that he had to leave now because we're about to talk about his team, but we have Freshman Division 1 Week 5 power rankings. Now, I have the Nameless Existence. It's Enigma Darkstar in second, Queen's Gambit Pawns in third, Chronic Wheels in fourth, and Cyber Grizzlies in fifth. What are your overall thoughts about the initial rankings before we start getting into them?
I think it's fair. I definitely think QGP is probably better than Chronic and Cyber Grizzlies. Well, according to the standings, of course, but
Right.
Darkstar and Nameless Existence are definitely the top two teams in this this division.
Right. I think it's Enigma Darkstar had a final week FF win, so their season is completely done. Nameless Existence just has to win win their last series, and I think they're up against Chronic Wheels. And if history serves us like correctly, we should expect Nameless to win that. And if they do win it, they will lock in the first seeds. Enigma Darkstar will go to the second seed. And then the other three teams, they're all at 1 and 3. Surprisingly, they all have a shot at taking that last spot, that third seed, which is amazing considering that Cyber Grizzlies hasn't actually won a game yet. They got a FF win, and that's how they're staying in this in the thick of things. Now, we already know who's taking the top 2 seeds. Who do you got taking the third seed?
I definitely think QGP has it. I mean, they have that one less loss that really helps their win percentage. So,
Right.
just based on statistics, I think it's going to be them, but you never know. It's freshman class.
Right.
Upsets happen.
I think QGP plays Cyber Grizzlies this week, and basically whoever wins that, to me, is probably going to make playoffs because I just don't see a world where Chronic Wheels can beat Nameless Existence. But anything can happen. But
it's freshman.
In my mind, yeah, it's freshman. In my mind, I think it's QGP as well. If I had to take the head-to-head matchup for QGP and CG, I think I would pick QGP like 9 times out of 10. Mostly because they've actually won a series, or 2 games, in fact. So, which is more than Cyber Grizzlies can say at this point. I also want to talk about some of the players to watch. Nameless Existence, Uncool Squash. Nameless Existence's mid laner had, let's just say, some issues and had to be replaced. Uncool Squash is coming in. It'll be interesting to see how Nameless Existence adapts with the new mid laner. It's going to be tough, I think. I think it's going to be tough, especially because they've gone the whole season without playing with this guy with a different mid laner. So going into playoffs with the new mid laner is going to be, I would say, an uphill battle for sure. An uphill battle for them to get their synergy in place and things like that. For Zenigma, I wanted to highlight Obi-Wan Shinobi. He's the best top laner in freshman class overall right now. He has an 8.13 KDA with 10 average kills per game, which is insane. So that guy is doing a lot of work up top. He's getting a lot done on his own, which is probably a huge win condition for Zenigma Darkstar if they can just leave him on an island and he's allowed to just play his game. Next, we have Paladin from the jungle. Maybe not the best player on QGP. Some would say that's the mid laner, but they are definitely the win condition for this team. The way they facilitate their gameplay through their jungler is the way they can get assists. It's without the jungler, it's just kind of doomed in my opinion. So I wanted to give Paladin a shout out. He's also the captain of that team. Chronic Wheels, Total Todd. For a team that's struggling as bad as Chronic Wheels is, Total Todd is undoubtedly the standout player on that team. His jungle play is the only reason that Chronic Wheels contests any game. And he needs to be highlighted, and he needs to really pop off against Nameless if they want to steal that playoff spot from QGP or CG. And lastly, I wanted to recognize Ballistic Dog from CG. He's also their jungler. I think the jungle role is pretty stacked in freshmen, mostly because they facilitate a lot of their gameplay through them, and I would assume freshman players are pretty bad at avoiding ganks. So I wanted to highlight Total Todd, or as Icarus says, Total Chad, and give them a little bit of shout out before we hop into the Division 1 playoff scenarios.
All right.
All right, let's just go ahead and do that real quick whenever you are. Okay, cool. So Division 1 playoff scenarios. This will give you an overview of what you should expect in your last season if you are a freshman player. How do you get into playoffs? For a Nameless Existence, they've already qualified for playoffs. If they beat KRNC, they get the first seed. If they lose, they get the second seed. And obviously, Zenigma Darkstar is in the same situation. They don't have any more games to play, so if Nameless loses, they get first seed. For QGP, it's very simple. You just got to beat CG. Doesn't matter how you beat them. It doesn't matter what happens in the other game. If you win, you're in. And that's all that matters. If you lose, you're out. And that's pretty much the case for every single team that's fighting for this third spot. Obviously, Chronic Wheels and CG need a little bit more help. CG actually has it a little bit easier because they just need Chronic to lose. Whereas Chronic actually has to beat Nameless and hope QGP loses. So looking at all this, I think we're safe to say that we're pretty confident QGP will probably pull it out, right?
Yeah, I'd say so. I mean, they have control of their own fates, whereas the other teams not. It's not all completely up to them. So QGP just looking for the win, as the other teams have to rely on another team to lose. So
right. And I think it's second to me. If it goes QGP, CG, KRNC in like terms of realism, I just don't see a way that KRNC can beat Nameless. So it to me, it kind of just comes down to QGP and CG. Whoever wins that match will qualify in my mind. I don't know if you disagree, but
no, that's fair.
That's yeah. Cool. All right, let's just hop straight into Division 2. We got a lot of slides to go through today, so I'm going to try to go through them kind of quickly if I can. All right, Division 2. In first place, I got TD Frost. Second place, Buddy Burgers. Third place, Queen Gambit's Knights. Fourth place, Enigma Unknown. And fifth place, Roar Daycare. Now, Burgers, Queen's Gambit, Knights. Controversial take. For me, it just seems like Buddy Burgers played more impressively in their losses than QGK did. And the wins and losses for BB and QGK are the exact same. BB and QGK have beaten the same teams. They've lost to the same teams. The only difference is BB got a FF win when they probably would have 2-0'd Raw Daycare regardless. I'm giving the nod to Buddy Burgers. To me, they felt a little bit better. And that these are the two ranks that are really the most important to talk about because TD Frost, it's obvious they're going to be in first, right? Raw Daycare is obviously in last. Zenigma Unknown is obviously in fourth. Unfortunately, they didn't technically win any series this year. They've got 2 FF wins, 1 FF loss, and 2 earned losses. That's pretty astounding to me that they only played 2 series this whole season due to whatever luck they came across. And they still were a contender for playoffs. So yeah, is there I know you're a big BB fan. Are you still on the BB train?
Yeah, I'm definitely still on the BB train. I think they'll secure the 2nd seed.
I mean, I think so too. They play each other this weekend. That'll determine who gets the 2nd seed. That'll determine who gets the 3rd seed. Maybe I'm getting a little bit ahead of myself, but the top 3 seeds in this division are locked. It's just seeding between 2nd and 3rd that is what it's gonna come down to, and that's actually very important because 3rd seed goes straight into the losers bracket, which is a pretty big disadvantage. Real quick, I want to talk about the players to watch. The Merit Lodge. He's the jungler from TD Frost. He's absolutely dominating the league. I think he's the #1 ranked player in freshman right now, which is nuts. Arcs Knight, which is another jungler for BB. I think their play is going to be extremely important in their matchup against QGK. Because QGK's jungler is, I think, ranked right below them. They're very close in skill. Next up, I have Off-Brand Zyra. This is the hands-down best support in the league for freshmen. Just killing it. Something like a 74% kill participation, which is nuts, especially in freshmen. The aggressiveness that they play in lane, and I think that he or she is hovering around like a 2.0 vision score per minute, which is really respectable for freshmen. So they seem to have their priorities straight and helping facilitate their leads, roaming, getting kill participation, and warding all over the map. Silver Cora, like I said, I just want to give them recognition. Their season is over, but they were one of the standout ADCs in the league, and giving them a little bit of recognition I felt was appropriate, considering they had also a 74% kill participation. And then I wanted to highlight Ambition because even though Raw Daycare has FF this season, Ambition has joined another roster and will be playing in playoffs. I'm trying to remember who exactly they joined. Real quick, just bear with me for a second. Apologies. Okay, I don't remember. I'm sorry. It's somewhere though. He definitely joined a team. I know that. So we will definitely see them in playoffs, and that should be pretty spicy. What are your opinions, PBS?
Yeah. Well, I mean, with the 3 top team, what am I saying, man? The 3 top teams locked in for playoffs already. I definitely think securing that 2 seed is extremely important because you get essentially a free loss. Or you can lose and there's no real punishment for it. So I'm looking for Buddy Burgers to take the 2nd seed. Should put them in a good spot.
We could talk about that as we go to the freshman Division 2 playoff scenarios.
All right, we are there.
Okay, Pog. So the playoff scenario is very, very straightforward. Like I said, the top three teams are already qualified. It's just about seeding. TD Frost has secured the first seed. Enigma Unknown and Raw Daycare are eliminated from playoff contention. And QGK and BB, they play each other, and whoever wins gets the second seed. It's very straightforward, and that kind of makes it exciting because I think as we move into sophomore, their playoff scenarios they get a little bit complicated. Um, so having such a straightforward method here is very fun. I think it'll give us a banger matchup in freshman. Hopefully, we can get that one on stream, and that'll be. I think that'll be awesome. I mean, those teams look really close in skill, so seeing them duke it out for not going to the losers bracket immediately is pretty important. Okay, cool. You want to move over to sophomore division one, or do you have a comment?
Yeah, we could go over to sophomore. I know a lot of people are waiting for their
Sophomore?
classes.
Sophomore waiting room. Okay. So sophomore division one. We had a banger matchup, TD Blaze versus TAA last week. It went 3 games. It was really close. There was some very hot-headedness coming out after the games. It was a lot of passion in that series, and TDB did squeeze out the win. I do think that if maybe they played each other 10 times, these teams would go 5-5. They seemed really close. Just seemed like TD Blaze got the better of them on that day. So they're going to go 1-2 in my opinion. It's Enigma Alpha. They've been playing every team very close. They've taken a game off of every team. So they've either 2-0'd their opponents or they've 2-1 loss or 1-2 loss every to their one loss this season. So that's really impressive. That means they can play with anybody in the division. But currently, I have to put them below TAA. I think that they lost the head-to-head to TAA, and that's why. Next, I have Outrage Gaming. I think Outrage Gaming is a good team. I mean, they started off 0-2, I think. Does that sound right? Because we were down on them, but we thought they would bounce back, and they seem to have bounced back. Now they're sitting at 2-2. I think if they were in the other division, they probably would have qualified. But they just couldn't quite make it. They're not out of it yet, but it's going to be very difficult for them to make playoffs right now. And then HTE, they've been FFing games. Unfortunately, they're only 1-4, but they actually do have a game win. So that makes them a little bit better than Weird Testable, who hasn't had it. They at least Weird Testable has shown up to every single series, which is respectable. They just haven't won a game yet, and that's a little worrying, I would say. But I think it's straightforward. Who's been eliminated for playoffs? Who's playing Who's playing for a playoff spot? But PVS, what are you thinking about the rankings so far?
So, in Division 1 sophomore, it's definitely like a very top-heavy group, you could say, with TD Blaze and TAA. We'll get into the playoff scenarios in a little bit, but OTR could definitely upset any of these teams and could probably beat any other team in the other division as well. But just very unfortunate that they got put in the same division as TD Blaze and Aurora.
Right. I mean, this division is just stacked. I mean, like I said, all 4 of these teams that are here definitely, like all the top 4 teams that are here, definitely deserve to be in playoffs. It's a shame that only 3 of them are going to make it. But I mean, at the end of the day, if you want to win the whole thing, you got to be able to beat everybody. And this is the best group to test yourself in, And if you can't make it in the top 3 in this group, you're probably not going to win it all. That's just the reality of the situation. Very quickly, there are some players to watch that I'm going to go over very quickly because it's taken a little bit of time. But TD Blaze and TAA, I want to highlight both of their junglers. They're both really good players for their teams. They're probably the star players for each of their teams. Anderson Cooper averaging like 10 assists per game, and Nick is averaging, he has like a 71% kill participation. So a lot of the game, mid to late gameplay flows through them, and the way they transition to the late game through mid game is really impressive and has led to a lot of success for both teams. Zenigma Alpha Chess Yi, as far as understand, he is popping off. I mean, he has something like 6.5 kills per game or something like that. No, 8.4 kills per game, which is nutty. A nearly 70% kill participation, and he's dual role. He plays mid and top, which gives Enigma Alpha like a lot of flexibility um, in terms of drafting. I want to talk about. I'm gonna just call him Little here. Uh, Little is stepping in as the top laner for Outrage Gaming. Ikazuchi, I don't want to comment on the situation, but he is not playing. He is the number one ranked player in sophomore right now, but he will not be playing against, I believe they play TAA this week. He will not be playing, and Little Niblet will be stepping into that role. So I wanted to highlight them. They've been playing extremely well, 10.5 KDA, but they've been playing as a support. And going from support to top lane can be quite a big difference. So it'll be interesting to see how they handle that transition. The last two, I just want to highlight some key players that really stood out on these bottom two teams. Counters, the ADC for Hawkthorne Esports, played very well, something like almost 10 kills a game and 71% kill participation. Very respectable, you know, especially for being a bottom tier team. And We're Testable, I wanted to highlight Aggressor, the support for We're Testable. They've been playing extremely well, something like 8 assists per game, handles 41% of the vision score. Vision score percentage is 41%. So they're doing the heavy lifting on their team for the vision. And I wanted to give them a shout out for that before we moved into the playoff scenarios.
Alrighty.
Okay. Sophomore Division One playoff scenarios. Funnily enough, none of the seeds have been completely locked. TD Blaze can secure first place if they win versus Enigma Alpha. But actually, Enigma Alpha and Team Ambition Aurora could technically get the first seed. And TAA's Enigma Alpha and Outrage Gaming are not locked in playoffs. So Team Ambition Aurora, they get locked in with just one game win versus OTR. So they just have to win one game. They don't have to win the match. They just have to win one game because of how the game win percentage will work out. They also qualify if Enigma Alpha loses. So Enigma Alpha qualifies if they beat TDB or Outrage Gaming loses. And then Outrage Gaming, they're going to need more help. They have to 2-0 win over TAA, or they have to beat TAA and Enigma Alpha loses. And then obviously Hawkthorne Esports and We're Testable are eliminated from playoff contention. So stuff is very realistic. These scenarios aren't like too awful, to be honest with you. Outrage Gaming does need a little bit more help, but if they can beat TAA, it's very realistic that Enigma Alpha loses to TD Blaze, and they could end up catching one of those playoff spots. What are you thinking, PBS?
Yeah, it seems like 2, 3, and 4 are really relying on each other here. It's pretty much the bottom teams don't really matter at this point. So,
Right.
I think the top 4 teams are all playing each other, correct?
Yes, they are. TD plays Enigma Alpha, and Outrage Gaming plays TAA. So, and then Hawkthorne Esports plays We're Testable. So nobody will go. Somebody will get a win for those two teams, but
So
all the top 4 teams.
One of these teams are going to be devastated after a very
Oh,
unfortunate event occurs.
It is doable, but the fact that Ikazuchi is not going to play for Outrage Gaming makes that 2-0 win over TAA look very, very unlikely. maybe they could sneak out the win versus TAA and then hope TD Blaze shows up and gives it their all against Enigma Alpha. I think there's no reason why TD Blaze wouldn't. I mean, they are still playing for that first seed, so they should be, playing as hard as they can. But yeah, it is crazy that one of these three teams, as deserving as they are of playoffs, they're just going to be sitting looking from the outside in. It's rough. It definitely is rough. Okay, well, let's hop over to sophomore division 2. So for sophomore division 2, we've had very little changes. Very little changes. TAE, LEO, and Project Maverick haven't changed at all from their week 3 rankings 2 weeks ago. And TAA is sitting pretty. I mean, they're literally undefeated. They don't have anything more to prove, but they do play against PM this week. And they might be looking for that 10-0 season, which would be, I would assume, very, very hype for them. Very good for their mental overall. And, PM, they're playing for seeding, and so is LEO. PM has to play TAE, and LEO has to play Mouse in the House. So LEO has a much easier time of getting that second seed. But I'll just go ahead and spoil it. The top 3 teams have already qualified for playoffs. They will be playing for seedings just like Freshman Division 2. Nameless Predators, Mouse in the House. These teams had flashes of brilliance. I put Nameless over Mouse in the House strictly because Nameless did beat Mouse in the House. But I do think that with some small improvements, both of these teams could be coming back with playoff contending teams. And Enigma Omega, they've just kind of been lost, I would say. I heard about what the situation is from the Enigma heads. They know what's wrong. They're going to try to address it, but at this point, it's too little too late. But let's see. It would be interesting to see if they can, sneak out a win in their last week. What do you think in PVS?
So yeah, in this division, it's very important to keep your your rank 1 for TAE. Playing against a second seed team is such a huge advantage in the winners bracket.
Well, TAE is locked in the first seed. They cannot.
Okay, well there you go.
Yeah, so they're locked in for this first seed. They cannot give it up, just because of the game win percentage. The other 2 teams will be playing for second and third, which is pretty important.
Yeah, you definitely don't want to start it in the losers bracket. That's you're always playing uphill. You don't have any safety net at all. So see if Project Maverick can surpass the Outlaws.
Okay, all right. On that note, let's just jump in straight into the playoff scenarios. We talk about what it's looking like, because this one gets a little bit complicated. So just bear with me because of the way the game scores have turned out. The intricacies between second and third seed get a little bit complex. So TAE, they've secured the first seed. They've qualified for playoffs. LEO, PM, they've qualified for playoffs. And the rest of the teams are eliminated from playoff contention. For LEO to secure the second seed, they need to have a same or better game score than Project Maverick did, except if both teams go 0-2 or 1-2. So just to break that down a little bit, if PM goes 2-0, LEO has to go 2-0 to get the second seed. But if PM goes 2-0 and LEO goes 2-1, PM gets the second seed. And PM also qualifies if both teams go 0-2 or 1-2. So if both teams lose with the same game score, PM will get the second seed. It's a little complicated, but just the be all end all is just win 2-0 and you're probably going to get the second seed.
Yeah, just win. 5-head.
Just win. Yeah, exactly. It's much more doable for LEO, I would think, considering that they play Mouse in the House and Project Maverick has to play TAE. So quite a uphill battle. But maybe TAE does some like five head stuff. They're like, maybe we just throw this against PM and we'll get an easier opponent in the first round, you know what I'm saying? Or in the second round. So maybe, but if I was TAE, I would want to go undefeated, so it doesn't seem likely. All right, what are you thinking? You think Elio or Project Maverick's gonna pull it out?
I think Project Maverick is like the wild card team, so I think they could definitely get second seed and maybe even beat Eclipse. But I mean, it's hard to tell right now from the outside looking in. We don't know what their views on TAE are, but obviously they've watched probably more footage than we have on them. So,
right. And what's interesting is that it's very likely that TAA finishes second with TAE locked into first seed. If that's the case, then both Team Ambition teams, they're going to play each other in the first round, which would be, I think, pretty hype. It'd be a nice little grudge match in their own org. And then they can, I'm sure a lot of banter would happen. So I'm kind of hoping that situation happens. It'd be really fun to see. Okay, I think that's it for playoff scenarios altogether. We can talk about the junior and senior power rankings real quick.
All right, let's go to junior then.
Right. So in junior, I don't think there's any surprise at who's at the top, right? They haven't dropped a game. I don't think they might not even drop a game all season. That's what I wrote in my explanation. It's not about whether BBC will finish at the top or not, because to me they are. But it's, will they drop a game? Because right now they are destroying people, and it is not looking pretty for the rest of the juniors. Second, I have Zenigma. They've only lost to BBC, which is like a really fair loss. And they've looked really good in their wins. I think they're gonna play. They play ZJP this week. I have Zenigma favored to win that, and I think that'll be a really good test for them.
That's a super hype matchup right there.
Yeah, 2 and 3. That'll be very, very exciting, and that will be the matchup of bot lanes for sure. Both of these teams' bot lanes are really, really pog. ZJP in third place. They haven't been tested nearly as much as Enigma. They have yet to play BBC, and they still already lost. So, okay. Sorry, I just got some information about one of the Enigma players. I don't know if I could say that on stream, but it could get interesting in freshman. That's all I'll say. So ZJP. They haven't really been tested as hard as Enigma. They've lost and they haven't even played BBC yet. So I put them a little bit lower than Enigma. Omega Titan Esports Hades. They've lost to BBC, which is like really everybody's been losing there. And they've lost to LES, but then they've beaten Puds and Ninetail Fox Venom. So their consistency is all over the place. And I think putting them solidly in the middle is fair for now. I put Ninetail Fox Venom at 5th. They didn't start strong, but they still need to play Puds and LES, and they're probably gonna beat those teams. So they're gonna be sitting pretty at the end of the season, I would say. Iceborne Reborn. They haven't played Hades or BBC, and that's pretty daunting. But they've played every team extremely close. I mean, you could see they have 4 and 7. They have the most games. They've gone to 3-game series, I think, in every one of their series except for one. And they've been playing everybody close. The difference is can they start winning those pivotal third games? Because if they can, then I think they're going to very solidly finish in top 6. Puds. It's a rough start. It doesn't exactly get easier, and it's going to be tough for them to make top 6. So that'll be good luck, Puds, is all I'll say. LES, we were very down on LES. They had an abysmal start. But you know what? They beat Omega Titan Esports Hades. And they still have yet to play Puds, Venom, and Iceborne Reborn. So they haven't played any of the bottom 8 teams yet. Bottom 4 teams yet. So that's pretty promising if you're LES. You can really turn this around. You could go 3-0 these next 3 weeks, and you might be sitting top 4. And that would be pretty amazing. So what are you thinking, PBS? I know you love this class the most.
All right, so on the point of the Spartans, so you can say it's unlucky scheduling, but to win it all, you have to beat all of these teams anyways. So
right.
Scheduling doesn't really matter in the grand scheme of things, but you're definitely looking to find wins against the top teams the most, just to prove that you're the better team and get a better seed for playoffs. It is the top 6 in junior, so there's a few more spots for teams to squeak in, and I definitely think they could. I don't think Puds is like the most consistent team, and I haven't seen Iceborne Reborn take too many like great wins. So I am a little more convinced about Venom getting a spot.
Yeah, I think so too. Real quick, I'm gonna bring in our guest. I believe he's in Omega Titan Esports. What team are you on? Can you clarify that for me?
I'm on OMT Aries.
Aries. Okay. So you're from the number 1 seed in senior, and wait, are you Yoroshiku or Sleepyhead? That's right. Yeah. Okay. Well, while we pulled you in real quick, Sleepyhead, do you have anything to say about the junior division? I know you have your org has a team in here. Do you think that they're going to make playoffs? What do you think about their strength?
I mean, I would assume they most likely make playoffs. They made the jungle change and the other role swap, so I think they're a little stronger than they were. But I think they'll probably be fine enough to make playoffs.
Okay. Is there a player that you think is the star of OMTH?
I mean, it's probably Kinshin, right? See, he's the highest rank on the team, probably the most consistent. But I mean, if they play mostly bot side, I think they'll be fine. I don't think I have anything majorly to worry about. They just need a little more jungle presence, and I think they're fine.
Okay, cool. Actually, people are having a hard time hearing you. Is there a way you could turn up your microphone?
Yeah,
maybe?
I'm good. Yeah, that was good.
Okay.
Yeah, is this better? Or?
Yeah, it's much better.
Right.
Okay, cool. Yeah, I think Kishin is the player to highlight here. For OMTH, he's absolutely insane stats. I think he's rated as the 2nd best ADC in the league, and he has a 5.2 KDA. That's extremely impressive. A little under 30% of the damage share for his team, which is a really, really astounding number. It really shows that he's getting a lot of resources put into him, and he's pumping out the damage. So, yeah, I think for sure he's the player to highlight for OMTH. We did get crashed by another person. Would you like to introduce yourself, 4th person? Oh, really? Okay, so Courtney decided to join this chat and then mute herself. Cool. So, Courtney, I know you love OMT. Give me your opinion on OMTH.
Oh, they're all bad.
Okay.
I'm just kidding.
Okay. Yikes. Okay, so let's talk about the players to watch in other teams. We have E-Girl Bender. I think for not only is that a great name, but he's been a great player. 6.42 KDA, averages 10 assists per game. Kill participation of 60% and a near 700 DPM. That is insane. He is the number 1 rated player in the league right now, and his like gold difference at 15 is like 1500. and his CS difference at 15 is like 14. This guy has been popping off. He's been dominating mid lane for all of junior. He is clearly the carry of the team, but that's not to discount any of the other members of BBC because they've all kind of been like popping off. So next, I want to talk about Blue Vapor. He is the diamond player for Zenigma. He is their ADC, isn't that right, PVS?
Yes.
Yes, and he's been all right. You know, Zenigma has not been like popping off in any of their games, but with a respectable like 4.3 KDA, 70% KP, and a damage per minute of like 650. That's he's been doing the work for Zenigma, and I expect him to keep it up. Especially because I personally think that Zenigma's mid laner is a little bit pigeonholed on their champion pool, and so he's allowing them a lot more flexibility and another way to carry. For Zen Esports, I want to highlight Firecracker, the support. Can you take a stab at how many assists Firecracker gets per game? Just throw out a number.
Random guess.
Yeah, just give me a guess.
Let's go 16.
Close. 15 assists per game. And there's not a single player that's really close at all in terms of assist numbers. They have 133 assists. The next highest is, I think, 101. So they're clearly having an insane map presence. They have 36% of the vision score for their team. And they've been kind of carrying. They have a 1.4 damage per gold, which is an insane number for support. So it's interesting to see how aggressive the Zen Esports bot lane is, and I would like to see how they match up against the bot lanes of BBC and OMTH going forward. Next, obviously, we have to talk about Sarah Vivo. We saw her on the stream. She's disgusting. Her Gwen was absolutely insane, and she really gives NTFV a carry potential. And I also want to point out, because we said it on stream last time, but it didn't get enough traction, I think. Sarah Vivo is the jungler for NTFV, and she does not use voice comm. She does not use voice comm. So to have that kind of dominating performance, how she can transition from mid to late game the way that she does, all without using her voice, it's very impressive. So I wanted to highlight that player real quick. For IBR, I wanted to highlight Haman Karn, who's their jungler. He or she has 80% KP, so he's like at every kill basically, and I mean, that's kind of all I wanted to say. That it's kind of nuts having 80% KP. There's not really many people that are close. I think 72% is like the next highest. For PUDs, I want to talk about PDX Twins. He's their bot laner. A lot of bot laners are like the standout players in this junior division, and this is no exception. PDX Twins has been popping off for a struggling team. He has something like 70% KP and a DPM of almost 700. That's very impressive on a team that hasn't been getting many wins. And then lastly, I want to talk about Ravensman, who is also the ADC for LES. LES would be, to say LES is a struggling team would be kind of an understatement. But the numbers that Ravensman has been putting up it's been respectable. So I wanted to give them a shout out. All right, cool. Any players you wanted to highlight, PVS? I know you love juniors so much, so.
Nope.
Okay. I also wanted to point out that BBC has actually locked in a playoff spot. So that's something
early,
that it's pretty early. But we have a similar situation in seniors if we want to just hop over there.
Okay.
Okay, here's the one. I feel like Icarus wanted to send in an an OMT member just in case I didn't put them at the top, but I did. So I gave Aries the nod here. They are undefeated, but and this is a big but. They do play G7M this week, and that is going to be a banger matchup. Oh, I'm so excited. What are you thinking, Sleepyhead, about that matchup this week? Since you're going to be involved in it.
I'm not sure if we're gonna be playing Flyer ADC or Circle ADC. Not that it matters too much because I'm pretty sure they'll both be mostly fine. G7 lost one game, right? And then they got they had to forfeit. Oh no, they had to forfeit the
Yeah.
first week, right? I think that was about it.
Yes, that's right.
Well, I haven't really got to see many of their games, but if they drop one game, I don't know. I would seem that they're worse than us, but you know.
Right,
Yeah.
G7M. They did drop one game to USC, which was very questionable, but they have been dominating everyone else. So I think that's why people are very hype on them, me and PVS included, because realistically they are undefeated if they didn't have to take the FF. And I do have confidence that they probably would have beat Ithaca College if they didn't have to FF that match. I think you guys would ideally both be 4-0, and I think this is a matchup for first place. So I think whoever wins this gets first place in the whole league, and that's a pretty big advantage going into playoffs. What do you think, PBS?
I mean, yeah, I'm still on the G7 train. I was really surprised that they lost a single game. That ruined my prediction from the last talk show. But yeah, we'll see. Ithaca looks pretty good in their games as well. So
Right. While I have Sleepyhead here, even though I haven't run down all of the teams yet, I want to ask him: do you think that you actually will drop a series this season?
Drop a series? I would say probably not. Maybe drop a game or one or two, but I still have a fair amount of confidence that we won't drop a whole series.
Okay. Are you confident with the ADC changes? The top
Yeah,
lane
I'm
change?
completely like fine with Flyer being ADC or Circlet. It's more about a top side that's a little more worrying, but I think it's still fine.
You also role changed, didn't you?
Oh yeah, I went from top to mid lane,
Okay.
which is
And
not
you're
it's not a major change. Yeah, I play everything except for ADC, so it wasn't a huge thing. But
right. That's a dog roll anyway. Who would want to play that shit? I mean, isn't that right, PBS?
yep, Thomas support player.
Oh yeah, you're a support player now. Oh, okay. I'm sorry.
Yep.
So going back down the list, we have third place Ithaca College. I'll be honest, this is a little bit surprising to me. I knew Ithaca College was good, but to see him at 3-1 right now is a little bit is it's a shock to me, to be honest. I thought they'd maybe come in 2-2, but they're kind of riding high, and with this momentum that they have, it's very impressive. I think Ithaca College's mid laner is like Plat, isn't he? Gold or something?
I can't
Like,
confirm.
yeah, he's Plat 3 right now. So to be in a league with Masters and hold his own and have a 3-1 record, that's really impressive. Next up, we have Legends Falcons. They're a team that came out hot. They beat OMTA and NAS, and then they've kind of just lost the last 2 weeks, including a loss to Akuma, which we will get into in a little bit. But they've been sliding. I do think they can bring it back. They have to play IC and USC. IC will be a tough matchup. USC, if USC keeps playing the way they've been playing, then LEF should roll that one. And then they have to play OMT, which is going to be a really rough matchup. I do expect LEF to make playoffs, but I don't know if they can make top 4 at this point. It's looking a little dicey. OMTA, they've been looking all right. They played every team really well. They've gotten a couple wins, gotten a couple losses. They did drop a game to AKM back when AKM was like pretty bad. And they have dropped a game to USC, but and they kind of got demolished by OMT. Actually, Sleepyhead, do you want to like comment on the strength of OMTA? Do you think they're top 6, top
A
4? What are
meaning
you
oh,
thinking?
so the sister team.
Yeah,
Uh,
yeah.
I mean they're mostly a top heavy team. They're kind of the opposite of us. They don't give Shayes the fair amount of resources, and I think they put a lot of effort into getting fish ahead. But that's all I really see on the team.
Okay. Okay. Do you think where do you think they'll finish at? If you had
If
to
I
guess.
think if they probably do a little more practice, they would get top 4. I think it's still possible for them to get top 4,
Mhm.
and not to shit on them or anything, but yeah, I still think it's possible for them to get up as a top 4.
Okay. Okay. Cool, cool, cool. Next, I want to talk about Akuma Blades. This is the highlight of the week. Akuma Blades won a series, boys. Let's go. They came in really hyped as the number 1 team in preseason predictions. They went 0-3, but they have finally won a series, and their season is not doomed. They can pull this off. They get to play USC, and then OMT, which they'll probably lose, and then NAS. But could you imagine, PBS? Imagine a world where AKM 3-0s the next 3 weeks, gets a top 4 seed, and then doesn't lose a single match. That would be so pog.
I think you're
I,
having
I,
a daydream
I'm
there.
I'm having a daydream, but come on, dude. Like X Fluke told me that they were building up an underdog mentality. So maybe that is why they lost all those series. I'm coping right now. So maybe that's why they lost all those series, and they're just gonna bring it back because everyone's downing them right now. Next we have New Age Shadow. New Age Shadow. They just came off of a 2-0 loss. They came off of a 4-0 Monday, right? An 0-4 Monday. They played 2 series back to back, one against OMT, one against IC, and they couldn't grab a single game, which is probably pretty bad for their mental. And it's not looking great. They have to play OMTA, G7M, and then AKM to finish out the season. And they're probably going to have to win 2 of those series if they want to make top 6. So it's not looking great for NAS. But that being said, they haven't been getting demolished, really. I mean, the OMT one wasn't really close, but they played IC pretty well in both of those games. They just happened to lose both of them. So we'll see. And then lastly, we have USC. If they turn it around, they have 3 very beatable opponents this next 3 weeks. They play AKM, they play LEF, they play IC. They could beat all of those teams if they get it together, but it's a matter of if, not when. And they would have to basically beat all 3 of them, I think, to get into playoffs. First, before I go to PBS, Sleepyhead, what do you think about the power rankings?
I would say they're fair amount accurate. I want to see what AKM has, right? Because I heard that they had new players, and that the start of the season they were rated the top and then went to the bottom. So just kind of confused about them. Other than that, I don't really see anything different. Right? This seems like a fairly accurate representation of how the season's going.
Okay. I will, just to give you context, uh, Runeterra Academy did run in the preseason 2 open ELO tournaments
Mm-hmm.
with 8 teams. AKM competed in both of them and won both of them in very convincing fashion. And that's why they came in very hyped.
Mm.
USC also, they finished second to AKM in one of the tournaments, and they also looked really good. Both of those teams came in really hyped, and then they kind of just fell off a cliff, and we're not really sure what happened to them. But yeah, that's why AKM was rated as the number 1 team. I think OMT played in one of those Open Elam tournaments, if I'm not mistaken.
I think so. Yeah, we played one game against Ithaca or I think so. Yeah, I think it was Ithaca or LEF. It was one of those. I'm pretty sure.
I definitely remember you playing in the tournament because that was when you had your old name.
Yes,
And it was
I
a
did have
big
the
old
name.
issue that we had to deal with. But thank you for changing that, by the way.
Oh, yeah.
And I do remember you being in one of those tournaments for sure.
Hmm.
PVS, what are you thinking of the seniors rankings?
So I'm really disappointed that USC is 0-4 right now. I honestly thought they would be number 1 or 2, but maybe something happened. I don't know. The games that I've watched, their drafts have been kind of awkward, but we streamed 2 New Age Shadow games. I think they've lost both of them. So you could say they played hard opponents, but I mean that's not really an excuse to lose, especially when you need every win you can get in the regular season.
For sure.
I honestly didn't think Ithaca would be 3-1 at this point.
Right, I agree. Big time. I thought Ithaca was good, and I knew they'd be a top 6 team for sure. But I didn't think they'd be 3-1 at this point.
I saw
maybe
them
they-
as like a 4th or 5th place team.
And they definitely could still finish there. But right now, their next 3 opponents, they're not like amazing. They're middle of the pack teams: LEF, OMTA, and USC. So Ithaca could, realistically, they could finish out 6-1, which would be an insane record to finish out with. So, Ithaca does have the superstar CF card in the bot lane. So, well, I'm sorry, his name is Clouds now, but
Is that why
it is realistic.
Is that why he's on the players to watch column?
Well, I wanted to talk about Sandbag because but yeah, 6-1 is not out of the realm of possibility for Ithaca College, and they should feel really good about that, especially going into playoffs. Okay, cool. I just wanted to really quickly talk about the players to watch. Flyer 666, he's the starting ADC. It seems like the ADC for OMT Ares is like just god tier, no matter who's playing, whether it be Circlet or Flyer. Flyer has an 8.56 KDA. An 8.56 KDA. That's very impressive for the amount of games that he's played. And he has a DPM of 860. There's only one player that has higher DPM than him. Can you guess who it is?
It's got to be a support, right?
No guess. Yeah, you're right. It's Circlet. Circlet is the only one higher DPM than him. And Circlet has like a 920 DPM, which is insane. Both of these guys are like getting a lot of resources and like benefiting off of it a lot. Flyer has a 2.0 damage per gold ratio, which is an insane number. That means he's twice as efficient with the gold that he's given. And so that's something to definitely watch out for when playing against Ares. Sleepyhead, real quick, you said you're a bot-centric team, is that right?
I would say that it's the way our jungler plays is more towards bot lane, even though we don't, we still play top side and bot side both times. But I would say that he's more comfortable playing bot side. But yeah,
Gotcha. Do you resent your jungler for never ganking your lane?
no, not really.
Okay.
If it's
okay,
his
good.
style, it doesn't really affect me that much as long as I
That's
just
a
play
good
the style that he
answer.
plays.
Good answer. You're a good teammate. I was hoping for a little bit spicier of a take, but yeah, you're a good teammate, man. Next, I want to talk about G7M's bot laner X-Ray Goggles. He is sandwiched right in between Circlet and Flyer in terms of bot lane rank. He's very, very impressive, averaging 9 kills and 9 assists per game, and also has a DPM of 841 with a CSD of 11. CSD of 15 of 11 with a gold difference at 15 of almost 1700. So he's been building his own leads on his with the help of his support. That bot lane's been popping off. OMT Ares' bot lane is popping off, so it'd be very interesting to see how they go up against each other this week. Ithaca College, I wanted to highlight IC Sandbag. That's their jungler. He's really been moving things along for the team. The way he played around mid in that NAS series was extremely impressive. And he really is kind of the glue, I would say. He really cleans up a lot of the weaknesses that Icy may be having in lane. Not that they're having a ton, but anywhere where they might be struggling, he's there to help facilitate any issues that they have. He's more of a supportive jungler, but he's extremely crucial to that team's success, and he's been showing it in these last 4 weeks. Daily Peach for LEF. I believe that's the jungler for LEF as well. Yes. He's the number 1 rated jungler in the league. 70% KP, 4.75 KDA. Absolutely nuts. With a damage, with a gold difference of 15 of almost 1,000, which is extremely impressive for a jungler. His presence on the map is very well known in the 4 matches that he's played in. For OMTA, I wanted to highlight Flux, their jungler. It seems like OMTA in lane isn't doing extremely well, but as a jungler, OMTA has been popping off. Also, OMTA is having some support changes and stuff like that. So I think highlighting what OMTA does as the jungler is pretty important. Maybe Sleepyhead has a better opinion on this, because you said they're a bot. You said they're a topside team, right?
Yeah, I would say they're more so top-sided. Yeah, they have a pretty strong top laner, and in lane he's pretty good.
Okay, cool. For New Age Shadow, I wanted to highlight their ADC Kog'Maw. He did in fact play Kog'Maw on stream, and he did pretty well. Not drafting Lulu was a little questionable, but with very few enchanters on his team and playing Kog'Maw, he did pretty well. It'll be interesting to see how NAS can use him in the future. And lastly, I want to talk about the jungler for USC, Damon. I would assume it's Damon. He's been playing very respectably. I think he's like the 4th or 5th rated jungler in the league, and the highest rated player for USC. 1.4 gold per damage per gold ratio, with a 24% gold share is, it's very respectable. And I think he has something like a 65% kill participation percentage. We're gonna need to see him pop off, and if USC wants to sneak any more of these wins. All right, cool. That was a lot of talking. Let's hop over to week 3 and 4 results, and let's talk about anything interesting that happened those weeks.
All right.
All right, week 3 and 4. We saw Zenigma beat CG. Everything kind of went as planned. No real surprises for freshmen in the week 3. For sophomore, we had a week 3 matchup of Zenigma Alpha versus OTR, which, as we see now, had really big playoff implications. And Zenigma Alpha barely beat them. And then we also saw TAE 2-0 LEO. Week 3 for junior. Nothing too surprising. You predicted Zenigma 2-0 over NTFV, and you were completely correct. You are not the highest person on NTFV. You're pretty down on them. And I don't know if that's because you want to be the antithesis to me, or if you actually don't believe in NTFV. And then for senior, everything kind of went as planned, I would say. Anything you want to talk about for week 3 results?
All right. You're saying I'm not too high on NTFV. I'm just not biased like you are.
Okay, this is a outlandish claim, but continue.
I mean, yeah, it looks pretty expected. I still think Zen has a pretty good chance of really climbing the ladder. I honestly think Zen can probably challenge BBC for first.
It's gonna be tough because they already lost to BBC.
Yeah. I mean, we'll see.
Okay. And then week 4 results. The highlight is right, like Chronic Wheels beating Cyber Grizzlies. That's pretty huge. for Chronic Wheels. That's the only reason they stayed in the playoff contention. And then QGK versus Zenyu. QGK winning over Zenyu knocked Zenyu out of playoff contention. So that was a pretty big win for QGK. I think also if they had lost, it would have been really tough for QGK to make playoffs. For sophomore, we obviously talked about already the TD Blaze 2-1 over TAA, which was an extremely important match for the first overall seed in Division 1. TD Blaze got the 2-1, and like I said, if you play that match 10 times, it probably goes 5-5. And then nothing really more exciting about sophomore. For juniors. Nothing too exciting. OMTH beating NTFV after losing to Spartans last in week 3. We didn't talk about that. And then week 4, obviously the big one is AKM beating LEF. That was a huge shock. And then we were hoping the OMTA series would be a little closer, but it didn't turn out to be that way. What would you say, Sleepyhead, is your relative strength to OMTA, since you have such insight to that? Do you think they could ever challenge you?
I wouldn't say so. They're fairly good laning phase, but their team fight I would say is not that great compared to ours. So it's
Okay, good laners, but dog team fighters. Okay, you all heard it here first. Sleepyhead said OMTA is dog at team fighting. Okay, cool. I think it's time to move over to week 5 predictions.
Okay. See what outlandish claims you have for this one.
I don't know if there's anything too outlandish. So for week 5 in freshman, I got QGP beating CG and getting that last playoff spot because I do think Nameless is going to be Chronic Wheels. I have BB beating QG for that second seed. I know you would probably agree with me. The rest of the matches were FFs, and a lot of them didn't matter at all in terms of playoff seeding. I have beating Zenigma Alpha 2-1. I gave the 1 win to Zenigma because they take a 1 game off of everybody. And then I have TA beating OTR, pushing OTR out of playoffs. As much as I would like to see it, I just think TAA is just too good. I just think they're way too good. And then I do have the upset. I have Project Maverick beating TAE 2-1. This one was definitely a pick with my heart and not necessarily my brain. I think it would just make things a lot more spicier if PM won versus TAE. I got LES beating Puds. I think Spartans is going to start putting some wins together. Maybe enough to get into playoffs. Obviously, I got Zenigma beating Zen Esports in what would be probably a very close match. BBC beating NTFV. I don't think that's very surprising. And then OMTH beating IBR in a close match as well. For senior, I got Falcons beating IC 2-1. I think Falcons are going to put it back together and have both those teams go 3-2. OMTA beating NAS. And then I'm getting some flack in the chat. AKM beating USC. I think all of the senior matchups are going to be bangers this week. And then I got G7M beating ONT 2-1. Okay. PBS, what are you thinking for the predictions?
I agree. I think G7M wins that. It's fine.
Well, okay, but what about all the predictions? Do you have any disagreements with any of them?
Pretty sure you pretty much just picked the favorites in most of them. I think IC.
What do you mean? I picked
Okay.
PAE.
I think IC is going to be LEF 2-0.
2-0. Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So you don't even think it's close.
And I think Zen Esports is going to beat Zenigma 2-1.
Wow.
So I think the right side on Junior is going to win. The red side first game.
Okay.
Wins
Okay,
everything.
so you think LES is going to win as well?
LES?
Yeah, over Puds.
Yes, I do.
Okay. Sleepy, go ahead. Let me hear it. What do you think?
G7's gonna get 2-0'd.
Oh.
2-0 2-0. There's not a chance they take a game off you?
Maybe, but I doubt it.
I don't know.
Okay.
That doesn't sound like 100% confidence to me.
Yeah,
I
that's
mean,
fine.
he said...
I'm still confident we'll win, even if they take a game.
Okay. He said 2-0, guys. He said 2-0. That's crazy. I like it. I like the confidence. Cool. Any other things you want to say about the predictions, Sleepy? Or we'll just move over to house standings?
They all seem fairly fine. AKM is gonna beat USC. OMTPA beats NAS. LEF beats IC. Yes. I don't think I don't have anything to say about those. They all seem pretty accurate.
Okay, cool. Let's just hop over to house standings real quick. So we had some interesting things happen in the last week. Infernal is no longer completely dominating. And they have a tie for first with Cloud House. Eddie Ryu, yes, those were the predictions for this week. And then we have Mountain House in third, and then Ocean House in fourth. I know Infernal is going to drop in rankings very soon, just because of the circumstances of their freshman team. But who do you got winning it all, PVS? If you had to make a prediction right now, which house is getting that $500?
I still think Clouds are doing it. I think Akuma and Ithaca are going to come back. I think the Ambition teams are pretty good, and TD teams are pretty good. So, but
Okay.
I feel bad betting against G7 Mirage's house, just because I think G7 Mirage is one of the better teams here.
Mm-hmm.
But the rest of the teams in that house kind of falling behind in their classes.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe didn't study enough before they did all the tests. So
Right. I think Cloud is a good pick, mostly because I think they completely dominate sophomore, and I think TD Frost is threatening that top spot in freshman. And I do think AKM is going to bring it back a little bit, maybe not all the way, but I think they will make playoffs. Ocean is looking rough. The junior teams are kind of letting them down. OTR is right on that cusp of playoffs. Hawthorne Esports is out. Nameless Predators is out. Cyber Grizzlies might be out. It's going to be tough for them for sure. Obviously, the Infernal House, we might as well just call it the OMT House. They've been completely dominating. And they also have BBC in that house who's dominating juniors. And they're going to get a sophomore playoff team and maybe even a freshman playoff team. So they're looking pretty good and poised to dominate. Mountain House, there's a lot of potential here. You know, Enigma Alpha, LES, LEF, LEO, they're all could be playoff teams. Same with Enigma and Enigma Darkstar. So as we get closer to the end of junior and senior season, I think Mountain House might see some movement upwards. And then, you know, as playoffs go on, we'll see who actually finishes in first and stuff like that.
I think Mountain's like no pun intended, since they have Enigma Darkstar in there, but I think they're definitely like the dark horse house.
Ooh.
Honestly, they could get first. Who knows?
They could get first for sure. They're not out of it.
It's the Legends of
I
Enigma
right.
house. The big
Right.
org house.
All right. Well, I mean, Sleepyhead, I don't know if you want to comment on this, but do you have an opinion on the houses outside of your own, maybe?
To be completely fair, I don't know most of these teams, so it'll be hard to give my opinion on it. But
Sure.
I mean, I just hope that both the OMT teams will do better and get into top like 3, top 2. But that's all I can really hope for.
Okay. Cool. All right. Last thing, I want to make an announcement. Freshman and sophomore, you will have your all-star surveys coming out sometime tonight, maybe within the next hour or so. So vote for those. Tell me who your all-star picks are, and then from there we can actually make MVP determinations. It's not quite that time for junior and senior yet. Also, last announcement. 4th of July is this weekend, but we are not letting you push back your game another week. It causes too many issues, especially for freshmen and sophomore. They're going to go into playoffs next week, so we cannot push back those matches. So make sure you get your matches scheduled beforehand if you expect to be out of town or on that Monday. Whatever helps, whatever is best suited for you. All right, and I don't think I have anything else to say. Anything you want to say, PVS?
Nope. I mean, it should be a banger. We'll see.
Yep. Sleepy, had any last words before we close it out?
I don't think I'm good.
Okay, cool. All right, well, thanks everybody for coming and spending this time with us, giving me a little bit of banter and grief in chat. I really appreciate it, and we'll see you all next week.